There's a lot of different types of definitions nowadays, more than ever, probably, of what it means to be a real man. And honestly, I'm kind of over all of them. I'm tired of all of them. Every time you get on social media, there's some new person beating their chest talking about what it means to be a real man. And a lot of these guys are so full of it. You've got the dudes with the beards bigger than mine and all of the muscles and all the tattoos. You know, some of them are. And if you don't, I'm not even going to mention their name because no one needs to give them any more attention. Honestly, no one needs to give them any more attention. But then you've also got these other guys who, some of them also have beards too. Ironically, as I have a beard talking about this, who lean on these like lazy analogies dressed up in pseudo spiritual lingo that's just a whole lot of nothing. And I always come back to these videos and these questions and these debates about what a real man is. And I ask myself the same question: where is God in this? If you take God out of the conversation, you're really only left to define manhood with power, fear, and performance. How much money do I make? How much weight can I lift? What type of car can I drive? All of these external and often superficial things are all you're left to define what a real man is. And that's why a lot of these big guru real men are so fragile and they're all falling apart. They're getting arrested, literally. It's crazy. All of them spouting off at the mouth about, what a real man is. The thing about defining manhood through these really simple, lazy ways is it's really good for selling programs and it's really good for selling courses that prey on men who are still sorting themselves out. These programs, these courses, these gurus, they can help you feel like a real man, maybe for a moment. But that's really all. It's good for making themselves more rich. It's good for making themselves feel better. A lot of these guys are just really good marketers, if not cult leaders, who condition their audience and people to do things that benefit the cult leader and not the actual audience themselves. That's just how I feel. Is that a function and role that a man plays? Absolutely. And is it good for men to strive to make money, to be on their purpose, to have nice things if that's what they want? Absolutely. Is it good for a man to be in shape and strive to push himself to be a better, stronger, more capable version of himself? Absolutely. That's great. And I do those things. But that's not what makes me a man, and that's not even what it means to be a real man. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever I have to say about this, just like anyone else, doesn't really necessarily matter because God is who has the final say on this, and God has already spoken on this. A lot of these things that we talk about as it relates to being a real man, whether that's being a protector, whether that's being a provider, those are just outcomes of a man who's rooted in his identity in Christ. I mean, really think about it. Did Jesus ever think that he had to prove he was capable of violence in order to be trusted, respected, or followed? Did Jesus ever have to prove he was capable of violence in order to make a woman feel safe? Was his masculinity ever called into question under these silly pretenses? No. His strength was found in how surrendered he was to the Father and his will for his life. Just imagine Jesus saying, I should be trusted, I should be respected, and you should feel safe because I can destroy stuff, but I don't. I have restraint. That's nonsense, in my opinion. That's just nonsense. And really, I'm kind of tired for all of these types of conversations. I'm ready for all of these conversations to just be laid to rest, honestly. A real man's number one purpose is to love God with everything that he's got. And then next to that, to love others more than he loves himself. It's the same for women. And the idea is that everything that we do flows from who we be with that. Everything flows from that. I'll be the first to tell you, I have a lot of work to do in growing inside of that purpose. But I don't want any more people to get lost in this idea of being not a real man or being, not a real woman because of what all of these loud people say on the internet about what it means to be a real man or a real woman. It's nonsense. And if it's not, I mean, like I said, God has already spoken on this. God has stated what our number one ultimate purpose is. It's to be rooted in Christ. It's to love God with all our hearts and to love others. That is our real purpose. And if you're striving to do that better than you did the day before, you're a real man. I'm not impressed by the car you drive. I'm not impressed by how much money you have. I'm not impressed by all of the external things that you're going to use to validate yourself with. And you shouldn't be impressed by that either. The only people that are impressed by that are other people who need external things to validate themselves. Now, again, I'm not saying if you've found success in the external world that you don't get to be proud of it. That's not what I'm saying. But I would caution you in basing your identity in those things, and I would warn you that that's what your purpose was. Consider subscribing if you liked it. I'll see you in the next video.